And happy good morning to everyone. You've got the Lady Hippie here. I did change it just a bit. So the new title is The Lady Hippie at the Bar, since I'm still broadcasting from the bar. So I said, okay, we're going to do it this way. And I'm still trying to work with two systems, but they still want to do me a little harm by not cooperating. I mean, it's just like one of those. I hope I'm not getting any echo here. Um, I've been doing my testing thing, but I'm an old woman. Could be I'm deaf. So I was seeing all the stuff that's going on at our southern border. Yeah, that's fun. Might as well start off with that puppy. I don't understand myself what is occurring here. They have estimated 11 million people have come across. God knows how many are terrorists. Nobody knows where they are. 11 million. And the one people call president now, I'm just calling old man idiot, but you know, he wasn't supposed to. Whoever wants this person in office puts them there. The people don't. And of course, they've been screaming for years now, 2, 3 years, because he dismantled everything on the very first day he got in there that Trump had done. They had a trickle only, less than it had ever been now since we've been recording in any event. He got rid of all that on his very first day. Mm. Wasn't good enough though. Then they started telling him, show up, we'll take anybody that comes in, no problem. Well, of course, we started having millions coming across. I don't blame them. It's a great country. I've been to several countries. Um, I can't say ours is better or worse, or sorry, I'm going to try and talk you and readjust. And I understand too why they would want to be here. We just can't take everyone. Like I'd say, I touched on this yesterday. Truck drivers have moved along the 700 mile border to try to help on the other side of the concertina wire, trying to let people get there. Well, apparently they took it to court in D.C. to I don't know which court. It's not the Supreme Court, at least not yet, mm. And lost. Well, the states lost against the federal government. The government is still going to allow the illegals across, um, and continue what they've been doing, basically. And so Greg Abbott had activated, I believe, the National Guard and Reserves, but you could check me on that one because I'm just boiling. I love Texas. I love my country. I trained to fight for my country. First company women to do so after they closed WAC, women's training. Then we all became, like every other service, regular army. It's what it should have been. And they have actually, and they have, this is under the state's powers. That's what these reservists and guard are. They're not under federal status unless they activate them as federal. However, the governors of each state can indeed do this. They can also appoint militias. I've been screaming this for a couple of years, going, why aren't you doing this? Because they're saying constantly, they're having news conferences, they're telling them, there's 3 or 4 people who died overnight in the river. We've got so many coming through. We have no way of counting, and they're showing the footage. Then they showed the footage of a bunch of boxcars just packed with people. These guys could be from, and some of them are from Iran, Syria. It's not just Mexico or whatever. It's not just the southern countries that are coming through here. Even some Ukrainians, I believe, came this way. It was easier to get in. They're automatically accepted this way. If they actually try to go through the process of the system of coming in legally, it's years, and they may never make it. Can't be in the country while you're trying to get in the country, apparently, unless you can get a visa. So at this point, I am beyond belief looking at this, because they said, no, you lose, the states lose. You have to continue doing it their way. You have to continue to accept them and release them. If they have a name, great, and you let them go wherever they want to go. And you put them on a plane, you put them on a bus, That's great. Yeah, the states themselves have had to stand up, especially Texas. And I like Governor Abbott. Uh, there's reasons why I like him, but to suffice it to say, he loves his country. And so he decided to enact his power as governor. And they formed militia. It wasn't just his state. The others are just as bad. People are dying because they're being killed by these people who are coming across. It's like locusts. They come through and they take your food, your animals, everything. Steal from you, hold you at gunpoint. Luckily, no party, as far as I know, has been killed on our side of the border by anybody yet. I hope. I'm not sure it would even be reported if it happened. So here you've got these 6 million people at the very least, and I think it's more like 12 million. If you've seen the footage of that boxcar of that train, it was box cars full of people, open box cars. And again, I understand why they want to do this. I really do. But it can't be keep this can't work because the governors are telling you they can't absorb anybody else. They can't do it, and it's causing complete crime and havoc. Something about a drug, fentanyl, I think it's called, that's coming through. Of course, I don't believe anybody's holding a gun to these people's heads. I mean, if you've heard fentanyl will kill you, it's not rocket science. You just don't take it. It's just like our prescriptions. I think it's funny how they list everything on there, including you could get the condition you're supposed to be being treated for. So I just look at mine and see if it has any, and then I go, "Oh, okay, possible death," and that covers it. People don't also realize that, say, 100 years ago, maybe 150, um, a pharmacy was a chemical place. It was not a place for people to pick up things that were administered to them by their doctors. They could get a prescription from a doctor to do something, whatever. I understand they had a lot of rat poison. It's just, you can't make it up. The wallpaper was made with asbestos before they figured out that, that stuff is really bad for people. I don't know how many died. And that's not funny, but it's, these things that I keep seeing come up. So they've gone to court in D.C. and they said you cannot put the concertina because the garden instituted the concertina wire and so forth. Brought more dune buggies. They had militias, I think, are basically made up of veterans. And I'm still smarting from the tag of homegrown federate. Homegrown terrorists. I can't even hardly say it because I'm a veteran myself. I see a lot of veterans per month almost because I'm at the VA having surgery done here or whatever's going on. And there's not one of us that doesn't love our country. And there's not one of us that wouldn't have died for our country. And we don't want others to die for our country. We don't want to die for our country. We appreciate and applaud and pray for those who are still fighting for our country. And this isn't talked about. We don't know if they just said somebody was attacked and how many soldiers were wounded and injured in Syria when they attacked it. Um, that's not enough. And when you hear these, and this is not Governor Abbott from Texas, these are several governors along the 700-mile border that have enacted their own guard and their, I think, reservists as well, accepting militias. There are border agents coming from other states that don't seem to have a big problem with it, so they can come and help too. And yet they're not. They're supposed to be able to arrest the border agents and stuff. I don't even know how bad it's going to get before they're allowed to do the job that they should be doing, which is controlling the border. You don't have a controlled border if everybody you catch and release with no ID is that's not a job. That's a ticket taker. Oh, you have seat number 104. There you go. Most of it is most of the ingress of these people. They're single. Most of them. A lot of men. Most of them still have their phones and their cigarettes or whatever. Uh, you know. They all have bags of stuff. I've seen the tent cities they've put up under the bridge and stuff. I think it was Uvalde. My son, though he was born in Heidelberg, yeah, and I was active Army then. Still tells everybody he's from San Antonio because a lot of his formative years, I kept taking it back because I was always a hopper, I guess you would call it. I wanted to go place, see the world, and I didn't manage to make it to the Middle East or the East, but I did do Europe really well. Loved it, just loved it. England, Scotland, Ireland. And then to find out, and I'm adopted, as most of you who follow the channel know, I was adopted, and so it was nice with the DNA to find out what I've been yelling for, however long I've been around here, that I was Scottish. The red hair is almost a dead giveaway, but the green eyes paired with it um, doesn't denote Ireland, doesn't really denote Britain. It does denote the UK as being Scottish. And that's what it turned out to be when we did the DNA. So I was enjoying finding out about that. I think I'll send out for that little parcel that makes me a lady in that realm. Ah, now I need a bigger kilt because my old kilt it used to fit the smaller me, and it doesn't do any well. So I have to figure out how to budget that in because if I ask Robert, he'll just go out and get it for me. I've seen them online. Now these are not cheap items that you wear. And that you buy, even the socks. The socks were $100. It's not like I got 10 pairs. No. So, but I wanted to order mine custom made from Edinburgh, from Scotland. So I'm going to have that before they have the Scottish Rites Festival at Stone Mountain because I'd like to go again. And he's trying to get our RV up and running, and it's been awful weather, and it's not going to be cheap to fix what's wrong with the motor and things were. It was hit. They even ripped the door off of this where it was parked at to be sold. So he got it for a good price, but he has to do a lot of work. And a lot of work had been done. The new islands and the sink area, new marble, all of that. So they did do some remodeling already, but it's underneath in the motor that he's got to fix. But we have time for all that. So I'm hoping that we can do that. And then we can just have to pardon me something in my eye that we'll be in time this year so that we can go to the Scottish Rites Festival. I haven't been in many years now. I've been a little. If it's not being ill, then I'm if they're getting a procedure done, or test done, or surgery done. I've had, I think, 4 surgeries, maybe 5, since I moved here. And I'm all puffy. You have to forgive me, too, puffy. Um, and so, by the time you get over doing one of the surgeries, you're set up, of course, for follow-up tests and you go. Take for example, the mammograms are not done at the hospital for the VA, so they send you to another location, which I adore. This place, it's only about 5 miles from us, and Robert takes me. Even though it's just a mammogram, those women things hurt. So he's good about taking me, but the one they send me to is just right up the road from me, and they're the ones that have the coffee and everything laid out for you. Lovely changing area, locker. You keep the key. Have to run around that paper thing, but it kind of compensates for that. Um, I and when they called me, of course, stupid me answered the phone. Instead of saying, I don't know this number, and I did not know the number. But then it came up on the thing as mammogram, and then I knew the number. And so I was like, okay, better call him, better answer. Okay, well, answer. Then got it ring for like 4 minutes. So now I have an appointment because apparently they had everything open for the whole year. And I'm thinking, well, you guys are not doing a family business, are you? Everybody hates the mammogram. And so, boom, I took a February 8th one because we're almost at the end of June. And she was like, could you come in tomorrow? I'm like, I feel you. because it must be one of the hardest things to get people in. And even she had noted that I had not been in since 22. So we're supposed to do this every 6 months, especially at my age. Um, and I don't like them, so I avoid them. So we've touched briefly on what's going on up there, and they sent people from DC, by the way, to cut up the concertina wire and get rid of it. The concertina wire is right on the other side of the wall that was built. They're also, you know, Army Corps of Engineers is finishing the wall. They're trying to, so you're not going to double line here. Um, Even on the other side, the Mexican Police Federales, the federal police, they are also holding them on the border on their side. And so it's helping, But then again, the Biden administration sent people down to to stop this. And excuse me a second, they did it again. Yeah, they did. I love how when you're streaming and you pay to stream, you can't just stream because every 20 seconds there's a commercial or they come on and ask if you're still watching. Now, trust me, folks, they know we're watching. They're watching and listening to us through our phone, through our laptop, through our Chromebook, through a tablet, through the TVs. Basically, we're all so wired into the government that if we blink wrong, they got 10 guys in black coming to my house. You know, I tell them all the time, send the Blackhawks, I'm freaking bored. And nobody showed up yet. I got to also remind everybody that this is for entertainment purposes only. And apparently, I'm pretty good, so I'll be here all week. I was like, I'm having one of those early mornings. I wanted to throw it in. Yesterday, when I did my live one, I also need to apologize. I thought I had ended my stream, and I was just talking to myself because my husband, Robert, he doesn't come down while I'm doing these. He doesn't want to be interviewed or anything, coward. So he just stays upstairs and sends messages on Facebook and my phone while I'm on. So I was trying to pick a time, say around 2 in the afternoon, but usually I seem to have more time early morning. And so I'm thinking maybe to change it into an early morning thing, people have to go to work. So maybe they would have time. It's a hard time to pick a spot. And you know, that's another reason I changed the name of the channel to Lady Hippy at the Bar. We need some kind of gimmick out there, guys. I need y'all to sit there and hit that like, bring that subscribe. It's free. You can get rid of it if you don't like it. But I've got to bring my numbers up. They don't let you stay for just fun. You can very long anyway, I assume, because they keep reminding me. I know who's seen it, and I know who's commented, and I know how many people are with me, and I just adore each and every one of you, and try to get back to you in the evening when I go back in and look at the video and post it to Facebook and take care of the comment section. I've enabled the live chat, so if anyone wants to, they can jump in. I can try to at the same time. That may not be as dexterous as I thought, which is why I have the second channel running. At first, I just wanted to do it, see if I could run through the monitor on this one, and then do my live contents and my live comments over here. So I wanted to be on both of you because when I have a guest, I'm going to have them on a system as well, and it's going to be interesting because all this I'm learning as I go. I still say I wish I had this stuff a million years ago, which is what it feels like. So anyway, they've sent them down to the border, especially Texas. I don't know why everybody picks it Texas, other than it's the biggest state. Um, but like I said, farmlands are being destroyed, crops are being destroyed, people are being hurt, stolen from completely. And they're saying it's like locusts. So they formed their own militia because, and I've been screaming for years, why we didn't have one. A civilian militia is what should be in every county, every city, every state. There should be 500 of them, and even just like Maine, I mean that's what it should be. When we went for this country and made this country, they did finally put an army together. And I'm not sure they had much of a navy, but they had a navy. But their main bulk of all of that was their militias. And we have a right to form a militia if they can't protect you. If the federal government can't protect you, your state government can't protect you, you have the right as an American to start or join a militia. And I'm going to wonder why this hadn't been done because so many of them, sorry again, had trouble with this. And now I find out that they actually did all that. Unfortunately, they are already not Texas itself, but DC and those colonies. If they didn't get paid enough this week. I'm not happy with those guys. And anyway, excuse me. Sometimes my 60 something creeps up. So they got the federal agents coming down and cutting the concertina. They got the governor sending the guard over to put it back up. And it's just so stupid. It makes us look so freaking feeble. And to think of how many terrorists are in this country is enough to make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. What are they thinking? Mm, tough. So we've gone over the border situation. There's not much that one can say except it's almost as if the, I hate to say this, but the president, I can't hardly call him president. It's like a puppet dance. I mean, he's not president. That man does. He looks for ice cream and the next where he's supposed to stand. It's not rocket science. That guy hasn't led crap. Not for like 40 years. And he's been there like 48 years, for God's sakes. All they do is sell his office out and he gets to see somebody and they pay the boy, that Hunter kid. Spalding, he's probably 80, but I call him his kid. He had a wonderful young son who fought and died for his country before he became vice president. He had a wife and a daughter in a car accident that passed away. Um, and he was senator by then. So he's gone through a lot of grief, don't get me wrong. But I don't, there should be a cutoff for presidents. If you're over the age of 55, do not apply. Or make it like the rest of us, 65. You can't stay after that. Put term limits on not just the presidency, but why are these freaking idiots making hundreds of millions on insider trading because they've been in and the Speaker of the House, oh Nancy Pelosi, that woman is so corrupt. I mean, corrupt bows to her. She is so corrupt. I mean, she's an embarrassment to every woman in the United States, every one of them. This other one, that these women, as they put it, of color, are doing their best, along with the president, to destroy our country from the inside out, and they are succeeding. If you get 11 million immigrants come across and you can't stop them because the federal mandate says you have to let them go, and these people are coming to destroy something, to do something awful. God only knows what. We'll find out soon enough, I reckon. It's just not a good thing, and you can't say to yourself, "Oh, well, they worked for me, so let's fire him." Because I ain't heard anybody say that impeach him. I did hear that the what is his name? He's a little worm, but they impeached him, and he's been in charge of the border. I can't think of his name. A little worm. He's been up before Congress trying to testify by saying absolutely nothing. The guy had to be a career politician. He'll talk about everything but his backside. And the question that you asked won't be answered. And he knows they only have 5 minutes. Each senator has 5 minutes to grill you. So each senator is already PO'd before they get up there because they don't see him, stonewall the first 20. So they finally went for impeachment. I don't know when it started getting the way it is. As president, if I were president, one of the things I would do is throw a bunch of press reporters out. I do like the one Steve's boy Peter Ducey. I like him. I watched him grow up, and I watched Fox Channel when his father started as a weatherman, and it was a free station. They started in San Antonio, and little Peter, I watched him just grow up, and he's become a very very good reporter, and generally he covers the White House. And one day Biden, of course, gaffes all the time. Peter asked a question, but then they were ushered out because they didn't like the question that Peter was answering. I can't remember the name of it, whatever it was. Anyway, I saw it. Um, and he said, "Well, there goes a stupid son of a bitch." And everybody stopped. They were leaving, but they turned around and looked at him. And even then, I don't think he caught on to the fact that he had just said it to everybody. He was on mic still. And this is a kid reporter. I got to give him, not really. He's in his 20s, but this guy is good. And even if he weren't, after the way the press treated Trump, which was horrific and embarrassing as far as I was concerned for other countries to see our president be so disrespected to his face. Awful people, awful. And they couldn't be called reporters. I ran a newspaper for years in a small city in Georgia. You don't do that crap. If I'd have been allowed to interview the president or ask a question of the president, you are supposed to be respectful. I don't know who taught these people their manners when they were running up there against Trump, but I'd have had the Capitol Police arrest them and throw them in jail, at least for contempt. I'd find out what I could get them with because I'd get them with a lot if it had been me. They wouldn't have talked like that to me. Even if I couldn't get them, they still would have been removed and they wouldn't have been let back in because that has to be approved by the president, which I know it used to be. I don't know what it is now. But several of those things have made me angry as well. I was hoping people would jump on and talk about that. We've, of course, still going through all the biblical events. And I don't know if anybody's got anything to know or add to new.
And since most of the debris in the pool starts on the water surface, the surface cleaning feature is pretty key to keeping it clean and clear.
Helps me think.
If you're wondering where the debris goes,
so I'm wondering what's going to happen next. UNRWA, which is the UN organization that's been sending this billions of money and food and all this over to them, have been run by the terrorists for 3-4 years at least. A lot of people have stopped dealing with it now. They're not going to fund it anymore, but not everybody. They found new tunnels, by the way. This new section they found is just kilometers. There's so many clicks to it. I mean, it branches off here, there, and there. But they found the opening in a cemetery. A cemetery. And there was miles of it under there. Miles. It was these people would have lived down there until the Israelis figured it was all done. And then they would have popped out and started doing it again. And this is the problem that the IDF has been facing since October 7th, was the fact that where are the terrorists? Where are they holding up? Well, okay, so they got to be tunnel rats, literally. Luckily, that thing is big enough to drive a golf cart through, literally. So we know that UNRWA, they were taking all that money and they were just, building these tunnels. There's kitchens, bathrooms, showers, caches of weapons, and supposedly, purportedly anyway, they have the hostages from the Israelis down there. One was a young boy who was taken at 9 months old, and so he just not long ago turned a year old, living in these tunnels. I had hoped that, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago, that they had cleared, at least Kankumas, they had cleared it. It took some heavy casualties there, because they're fighting, house to house. And that also reminds me of Europe. And they didn't carpet bomb the crap out of them first, which would have been saving a lot more of the soldiers' lives. They didn't do that. Like Berlin was just hit and bombarded by both sides, us and the Russians and anybody else that had a plane. So there was nothing standing. Not in Berlin when they got finished. And I'm wondering, yes, they tried to tell all the civilians, get out, we're going to come. It's a war now. We don't want you hurt. Please leave the area. And gave them like a week or 2 weeks to do that. Nobody left unless they could sneak out. They didn't leave because uh, at the time, I don't think any of us realized how embedded the Hamas people were. They were everywhere. They were the hospital doctors. They were the house owners. Why there were so many tunnels, I guess, coming through hospital, schools, and houses. So they've known all along. But apparently, they say they couldn't do anything about that. Could the IDF kill them so they could go on with their lives? I love that part. They're getting actual phone calls. I don't know who's giving them numbers, but they're actually giving them phone calls to say, "Can you please kill these people because we're getting killed here in the middle?" Then Hamas is never worried, uh, or any other uh, terrorist group, ISIS, before this, so forth. They have to be taken. Now, I mentioned World War II for a reason. Um, they didn't take prisoners, not for a long time anyway. They didn't take them because they had nowhere to keep them. These guys were, they were finding house to house, just like the idea. And where were they going to keep them? Somebody would have to take them back behind the lines and this, that, and the other. Yes, they did take prisoners of war, but not always. Sometimes it was no quarter, just like it was with Moctezuma and the Alamo. Uh, no quarter given. You will all die. Man, we don't care how many of us die to kill you. And that's the way their countries run. So they take their citizens, and that's just go ahead, kill who you want. We don't care. We're still going to attack you. And the idea was just broke their backs trying not to do that. You will see kittens in the background occasionally. Here I am at the home bar with my cats. I'm having a grand time. I've become the cat lady of the neighborhood. Robert has caught them trying to drop off cats. Um, and Robert has that kind of aura. He's great with kids and animals. I'm okay with kids once they're teenagers. I don't usually do kids until then. I'm not good with infants. I'm not good with toddlers. I like the older crowd, say like my granddaughter, because they're starting to really learn about life, and you can have such grand conversations and be of more assistance by being in their lives at that point. So I think that's why I like him better. Um, it's amazing what they already know about how bad the United States looks, how bad that the country is that they're going to have to run in 10, 15 years. They know this. As young as my granddaughter, who's 11 now, going on 12. So, and these kids are super smart. But even they're at a loss when they see some of the news. A lot of parents shield their kids from the news. Don't do that. They're indoctrinating your kids at school now. I went to a much different system where you learned. If you wanted to learn about a subject, this is why I do this channel, so we can all talk. You couldn't do that during my time. You had to go to 20 national libraries and pick out 15 books to find a little paragraph and maybe a drawing. And still, archaeologists were born. I mean, they made it through just this type of system. And now we have all this. So the grandkids, both of my grandkids and my grandson are already out of the army, thank God. He ended up in Korea. Um, I'm sure that my granddaughter wonders what kind of world it's going to be by the time she gets to be 18. We've already spoken about it. The one thing grandparents also forget is that they're not the child's parent, they're their grandparent. So it's difficult for me to decide what I can talk to her about and not be stepping on the toes of the parents, because that's something I never want to do. But luckily, like I said, this generation is smart. And they've got all this at their fingertips. And some of them actually use the system. And those are the smarter kids. Thank God it's gotten this way. We know that the UN is corrupt. Oh, they're saying they're not. By the way, the Anwar, that was the UN part there in Palestine, most of them participated, by the way, in the October 7th attack. That's who was doing it. So our tax dollars went to build those tunnels and make sure they had enough weapons to attack the Israeli citizens who had nothing to protect themselves and kill and molest and burn people alive. It was horrific. And it turns out they could do that because we paid them to do it. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. But on brighter signs, maybe, I didn't see any new disasters, and I was looking. We are looking off the California coast that the Cascadia line maybe shifted a little bit, and they could be getting some tsunamis. I haven't yet seen that, but I did see 16-foot waves, and that kind of qualifies as a tsunami, depending on what power it hits with and how long and far it goes, that kind of thing. So it's already happening. Like I said, after I saw the camels floating in the desert, nothing surprises me at all anymore. What was I telling you? I forgot yesterday. I was talking about this, and I just went off to tangents. I ended up talking about whatever pops in my head. That's why I said I need to be pinned down, guys. I need to pick a particular time, and I need those feedbacks. Throw those comments in that comment line. Let me get back to you on it. Let me whittle some of this down. Um, Without you guys, nothing happens here. It's just me talking to myself, or maybe another guest. Hopefully, one of my guests has had surgery and had to go back and get surgery again. And they both work like crazy, like we did, especially Robert. He worked so hard all his life. He barely had time to breathe, and still redid the house and got my hardwood floors in and did all that and made sure that I had the equipment that I needed to do this uh, podcast. It's something I really, really enjoyed watching before I started it myself. So I want everybody to please understand and bear with me that I'm probably going to make ginormous mistakes as I go along. I may not be the brightest bulb in there. So, the sharpest knife in the drawer probably isn't me. But I hope that it takes off and that people start doing more comments, hit that like button more. I need to hit at least 1,000 viewers. I don't need 1,000 subscribers, although I would absolutely love that. And then I can start doing other things. In particular, I could put up merchandise if anybody wanted it. I could pick up other things and type down some of this. There's so much going on. It's hard to pick one or two because I try not to go over an hour, and I see by my clock I'm already at 40 minutes nearly, and it doesn't feel but like 5 minutes have gone by, which is why I leave the timer on. So, and I leave the live chat open. So I need to figure out what time to put them up. And even if you don't catch it live, you can still pull it up on YouTube at any time. It's a little hippie at the bar now. I'm sorry, Lady Hippie. I should have gone with little Lady Hippie at the bar. That's me, Lady Hippie at the bar. And so do you like or throw a comment in there for me. I also at some point will post it on Facebook. There are several that I've posted there now. I prefer the live set for some reason anyway. Perhaps because it's not, I can't edit it while I'm going along. And I have yet to drop any videos or linger on any specific topic. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So if there is anything that you guys want to talk about, hit me up in those comments. I feel you. I really do. And I know we're out there. I know that the baby boomers are out there going, how did this get past us so badly? Why can't we? And why couldn't they impeach him? All the stuff that Biden's done, including giving away Bagram Air Force Base, and he hasn't had one thing, even a smell of impeachment. They tried to impeach Trump for the entire 4 years and made up stuff so they could. They destroyed a four-star general, and he was guilty of nothing. And he had to be pardoned finally on the last day of Trump's administration And he was only in this right there around Trump for however some months. It wasn't very long before they got rid of him by bringing up these accusations about this Russian colluding and all. I mean, come on, how stupid do they think everybody is out here? This man was guilty of nothing. They proved it over and over again, and still they wouldn't let this man alone. They done destroyed him. He's a four-star general. He's broke. He's lost his home. He had to sell it just for the fees for the lawyers and just to clear his name. When his name cleared, he wasn't guilty of anything but defending his country. That's a four-star general. You don't get them too often. Literally, yeah. If you get a general, period, it takes a lot longer to go through one, two, three, or whatever. They actually destroyed a four-star general during Trump's administration. So and he finally was able to do what he did. But I still wonder how he's doing. Um, I was so angry at that and how disrespectful the press corps was to Trump every day. And it was the same reporters, if they could call themselves that were up there in his face, insulting, demeaning, demanding. It was sick. I couldn't even watch after I think it was a month or something. I couldn't even watch it. These people are sending billions of our dollars from our taxes that we pay, and we have no say in what we pay and how much. And mind you, that's just out of your check. Nobody seems to understand the fact that all your check is taxed in five, six different ways. Now they want a second death tax, which I'll be happy to deliver in person. Yeah, it made me day. So, but you pay a tax on food. You pay a tax on everything. Your food, your gas, it doesn't matter. And in some states, California's one, Georgia too, have very high taxes. So even what you're not taxed with, you got a little bit left of your check. If you buy groceries and you spend $100, you got about an $11 tax on there. So you can't get three or four more items because you got to push it to that extra tax. Groceries alone should never be taxed. Wages should never be taxed. I've said it before that was put together by Roosevelt during the war, World War II, and it was supposed to have been dropped after the war ended. My father hated Roosevelt, and then I realized why when I started working myself, because when he went to war, they came up with that tax. Before that, there was no tax on your wages. There was, I think, a small, depending on city or county tax, I think there's some of that in there, but nothing like they do today. I, the last estimate I got was that they took 28% of your check before you ever saw it, even though they're going to tax you on that amount at the end of the year. You didn't. So you made 28,000, but you paid 2,900 in taxes. Okay, so you should be down to like 2,500 on tax when you turn your taxes in. You're not. You're back to how much that you made before they took it. So they tax you again on money you never seen, and they're getting away with this. They actually militarized the IRS. For those of you who have any clue, they militarized the IRS. Now I called them jackbooted Nazis before that, but now for sure that's my nickname for them. And when you send these people, and I have some stories about that before they became militarized. One was had gone in to take this house away, and the woman was pregnant. She didn't know what was going on, and they kept saying they had to pay taxes and so on, and they knew they had. This woman was pregnant, the husband wasn't home, and they were removing things from her house and all this weird stuff. And she was outside pacing, trying to find out what to do. This was some time ago. I think we had regular um, cell phones, and we didn't have smartphones. But I'm not even sure she had that. I think it was back in the era just before most of us had the cell phones, where we had the regular house phone, but you could go 120 feet or something away from the phone itself, which I thought was so cool at the time. I used to go out the front yard and talk. So in any event, this woman couldn't get any help, and she was trying to ask them why they were tearing her house apart. What were they doing? Because you see paperwork, something to this effect, and they threw her down. And I mean, they almost attacked her basically, and she was very pregnant. She wasn't 9 months, but she was almost 8 months, I believe. And she immediately went into labor. She nearly died. The baby nearly died, and it turned out they had the wrong address to sum that little story up. That's just one. I was in Texas when El Paso went down. These people repeatedly called for help before a shot was fired, that they were being burned alive. Please help them. Anybody, come help them. They were calling 911. And we heard these calls. We actually heard them. But what happened? Those that they didn't kill were put in jail. And even I don't know if they've ever gotten out. And I never heard of any reason to do this to people except that uh, they said that David Koresh, who was the leader of the movement, was that they were stockpiling arms. This is why the ATF was the one that was basically sent. I call them the three letters because basically everything is three letters. It's the FBI, the CIA, the ATF. I mean, so basically it was because they had too many weapons, and it was supposed to be um, they had to get them before they got attacked. And I'm sitting in Texas listening and watching this live, and I'm like, these guys aren't shooting back. And then finally, they didn't have a choice. The women were being killed, children were being killed. They're trying to get them safe areas somewhere in this compound, and it was a compound. It had places to live and schools, all this stuff. That they paid for that stuff. None of that was federal, but they wanted to kill them, and they did. I watched it, and I said, "When are we all going to realize that we're nothing to our own country? They will take it if they're ordered to shoot, they're going to do it. They have no choice. Once you've been trained, and I have been trained to take an order, you don't think twice about that order, and you don't think to yourself, "Let me ask you about that." That's kind of maybe we should talk. You don't get to do none of that because you can get shot. You do not. That's just the major faux pas. There. You do not ask them any questions. You do what you were told right then. You didn't have time to question your own name. So never think out there, guys, for 1 second that your government will not shoot you. They will shoot you. They will do grenades. They will fire weapons that are major, and they will find a reason to do so. Um, that Miss Reno was in charge of that particular situation, and I never liked her to begin with. And I don't have time to go into all that. I say. Um, what else was it? There's a lot going on about our bodies, what they're feeding us. Like I told you last podcast, with the big pipes, your water comes through. Your water comes through just like this much of it because all of this is I don't even know. It's like everything that's been poured into that pump has stayed in those areas that your drainage or whatever. I've seen sewage pipes that look cleaner. I'm not kidding you. I'm just saying. You've got your reporters, your local reporters. They're not touching that with a 10-foot pole. They won't have a job, so they're not going to go there. You can't get any answers from the ones that answer the phone because they can't even take a payment. You can. I love that. Same with our gas company. You can call them and all that and find out, hey, how did this triple? They don't know. So, like, what do you do? Well, we can answer any questions if you have to have your service turned. It's annoying as hell. So, I mean, they can raise that whenever they want, lower it, raise. It doesn't matter. Um, Again, these bills have become outrageous, and everybody's too busy trying to keep up with that then they're able to do anything about what's going on over here. As for the border, there were more people coming from other states. I don't know if they were veterans. I don't know. Some of them, I think, were already Border Patrol agents, say Florida. I know that some. And it's scary for me. It's like they're trying to cause a civil war. because we've already got, I think there's 9, 10 states involved in this already that said, no, we're not cooperating with you. You cut that concertina wire, we're going to put it back up. If it were me running the show with Governor Abbott, I'd be like, I'd be locked and loaded. If you touched that right there, you're going to jail here in the States for a very long time. And do you like your knees? Because I'm real good at shooting the knee. But you can't do that either because they're under orders to do what they're doing. Whether they agree is a moot point. So never think that the government won't take you apart and not put you back together. I also had touched on briefly the fact that they want to do the chips, take the money out, have everything done electronically. We've all seen that movie. Didn't get the T-shirt left in the middle because it was so scary. I mean, it is. It's just exactly as if we're in one of those movies, especially the ones now about end times. I saw a video yesterday where they took a plant out of a person's arm and out of their hand, and because it was found on X-ray, and they had a whole setup where they put a suction thing over it, and it looked just like I can't think of the movies now. It'll come to me. The Matrix. That's what it was. The Matrix. How they removed this thing from Keanu Reeves in the limo, and before the red pill, green pill thing. And they were actually doing this. It was almost the exact same equipment that a suction cup, and they pumped it. And finally, it popped out, and they gave it to the guy. The guy's name was on it. The guy's name was on it. Okay, and he did not know that it had been done to him. So I'm not sure how that went. But it was about this big and about that thin. I'm not sure if I can. So I would go with like an inch by a quarter inch. I mean, it wasn't very big, but it was obvious that it was transmitting to something somewhere. Everything he did, I didn't know he had it. So I wonder how many more of us had that going on. Look that up. I think it's just under implant removed or something along that effect. I'm sure Google will direct you right on in. And this is another reason I just say check for yourself. Check everything you hear from everybody. Look it up. Find it out for yourself. I have never, for one, and I have to go soon, um, allowed anyone to preach to me. I can read a Bible. I don't need somebody in a pulpit screaming about hellfire and damnation. If that's the only section of the book you read, you're in trouble to begin with. And there's a lot more than the King James Bible to be read. The Bhagavad Gita, yeah, there's just tons. And that we can't even get to. If you think about the fact that the Vatican has 52 miles, think about that now. It doesn't sound like it's a lot of room, but 52 miles of books. And mind you, they've been getting this stuff for a couple of thousand years, and also up until the 20th century, had their own standing armies, and this kind of thing. Had kids. I mean, it was just a thing. Then it was in the 20th century, the pedophiles, and they weren't doing anything to them. They were just moving them someplace else, and it turned out they did the same thing to the boys there. It's just you can't make this stuff up. Scientology has been made into a church. I actually have the first book that the guy wrote long before Scientology existed. L. Ron Hubbard is his name. And worst book ever. And I'm a voracious reader. I'd rather read the Encyclopedia Britannica again than read that book. But that's supposed to be what this religion is founded on. It's not a religion. It's just a way to get people's money. These mega churches, why do you keep giving your money to a man who has 2 phones and 15 mansions? What's all that about? Is there a way that people are being brainwashed that I haven't heard of? Because I'm not giving anybody anything that owns a couple of planes and $15 million homes. I'm not going to do it. And yet they have these mega churches out there. These are supposed to be the evangelists. And yet I see millions. And mind you, to me, that's scary. That's to me, I'm afraid that this is going to turn into the same thing that has the Muslims going. They want a global jihad. I don't know what Scientology is doing to do or what they're supposed to do or even why they exist because they are not a religion. L. Ron Hubbard was just a terrible writer, and somehow, after his death in the 70s, this is took off. People disappear. Their kids are over here working, and it's the strangest thing I've ever heard of, and it's definitely a cult. It is not a religion. It has not ever been a religion. It never will be a religion. There have been many who have cut out and spoke against what's going on in those places. Same with the Jehovah Witnesses, and what they're being made to do. So I don't see where they could call or make the call that it's a religion. Nor do I really think that it's on a par that once you've been established as a religion, that you don't pay taxes anymore. Why not? People paying you, then you should be paying taxes like the rest of them. Same with Disneyland. Disneyland was its own freaking country. Nobody knew. You gotta love it, Governor DeSantis. As soon as he figured out they got taxed. And they ain't their country anymore. They're in Florida. It's a state. They don't have their own country. But yet it took up until last year for them to find out that that's the way Disney was run. So I think maybe we'll tap out on that note. Um, Again, this is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm going to be here all week. You poor people, right? Hop up there, hit the like, throw a comment, and subscribe. It's free. You can unsubscribe at any time if you want to. I definitely want to hear from everybody. Throw something in the comments so we can content down maybe so it's not so broad, unless you like it the way it is. Either way, I'd love to know. I would love to meet everybody that I can. This is what I so love about social media is the fact that there are so many brilliant people out here that I can speak to from the comfort of my bar at home. It's almost, I mean, it's like so over the top Jetsons. It's fun as hell to me. I get such a kick out of this. But I see my time is up. So I'm going to have to go on and get rid of the rest of my day because I know before I think about it that, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock. Where's that drink? Bless everybody out there. Come and see me. Throw that comment in there, guys. Everybody out there know that you're appreciated, and I can't wait to speak to all of you. Have a wonderful day out there, and come see me. Ah.